Japanese fish and nuts. Now, you fancy a bit of a snack? Shall we have popcorn, potato chips? No, here in Japan you can get fish and nuts, which is a very popular snack. Here are some individual packs for when you want to eat fish and nuts on the go. But this supermarket is always full of fish and nuts. You'll find some very odd snacks in Japan. Lots of dried fish, lots of dried squid, and dried octopus as well. I can't say I've ever tried fish and nuts. The idea of this combination just sounds a little bit too strange for me. I can't see myself sitting on my sofa watching a good movie and just snacking away on some fish and nuts. But hey, each to their own. If you want to try fish and nuts, come to Japan. They're widely available in all good supermarkets. Here is a typical Japanese front door. Now, there's something missing on this front door. Can you spot it? We've got a letterbox, yes, and we've got locks, yes, but there's one important thing missing, and that is a number. There's no number on the front door, and most houses in Japan don't have a number. Some families put a sign at the front saying their family name, which does help you when you're trying to find someone's house. But on average, there's no number. Now, how do you get your mail? Well, the Japanese Postal Service make their own maps. They make maps of postcodes or zip codes, and then they fill in the plots of land with individual numbers to represent houses. But the actual houses themselves don't have a number. So when a Japanese person invites you to their house and you ask them, "Oh, what number is it?" they'll tell you, "We don't have a number." Japanese houses are still almost entirely made out of wood. Now, why is this? Well, because of the high number of earthquakes in Japan, and wood is one of the best materials for bending and flexing. This post, which is on the first floor, runs all the way down through the ground floor and under the floor there to the foundation, and all the way up through the first floor up into the roof. It's a very, very long post. So what happens when there's an earthquake? Well, the wooden frame the house is made of will bend sideways and flex. And when you're in a Japanese house and there is an earthquake, you have a sense of everything moving from side to side rather than shaking. It's kind of an odd feeling, but this is how Japanese people have protected themselves from earthquakes for hundreds and hundreds of years. Japanese electricity. Now, the power supply in Japan is 100 volts, so it makes it one of the safest power supplies in the world. Here's the plug design, which is based on the American design with two very thin prongs. Now, what happens if you're not from America with these prongs is they sometimes accidentally get bent. The metal is very soft and you can easily bend them out of line. Let's try and put it back in the socket, and there we go, it doesn't fit anymore. Another thing that can be very annoying in Japan because of the plug design is when you're on your computer finishing a very important email or a report, and then you accidentally walk past the cable and it easily pulls out of the socket. Boing! Happened to me quite a few times because I'm not used to this design. Parking in Japan. Now, here I am riding my bicycle down a typical suburban street in a big Japanese city. And if you look, there's something missing. Look at the side of the road there. Yes, there's one thing missing, and that's parked cars. It's illegal to park your car on the street in Japan, which is one reason why Japanese streets look so neat and tidy. They're not piled up with rows and rows of parked cars. You can park your car on your driveway, and there are a lot of rental car parking areas. But parking on the street, on the road, is mostly illegal in Japan, and it adds to Japan's clean and tidy street image. Much nicer than where I come from, where it's bumper to bumper parked cars on every street. Japanese Hanko, Hanko, Hanko. Now, what's this? Is it a very small harmonica? Is it a tiny pair of glasses in a tiny glasses case? No, it's actually a Japanese Hanko. and a Hanko is a stamp. Now, because of the Japanese writing system, there's no form of signatures. You can't use signatures as a form of ID. So in Japan, they use Hankos, which are small stamps. They come in a little case, and each stamp is individually made to represent you and you only. There's a small ink pad inside, and you can buy them in Hanko shops. Now, if you're on vacation, would you need a Hanko? No, you wouldn't. You could just sign at certain places, but in banks and any places where there's any legal situations, you need a Hanko. Japanese smoking boxes. Now, unlike most Western countries, where smoking is declining, Japan still has a steady amount of smokers. Also, Western countries force smokers out into the street. But in Japan, it's often illegal in certain areas to smoke in the street. So what happens? Well, they put these boxes or booths into workplaces and hotels and amusement arcades. And this is a special area where people can smoke. Inside the room is a large extractor fan, which sucks out all the smoke from the room, and so it doesn't bother other people. Japan is a very different system. Smoking inside is okay. Smoking outside is not okay. Why? Why would a video about Japanese windows be interesting? Well, let's take a look. Now, in the north of Japan, it gets very cold in winter, and houses are designed just for that kind of weather, with thick insulation and double-glazed strong windows. But in the rest of Japan, houses are designed for summer, so you have very little insulation and incredibly loose-fitting and thin windows. The window frames and the window panels are made from aluminium, and if I slide one open now, you can see how thin the window panel is. Now imagine how thin the glass in there is. It's incredibly thin. The windows, from a security point of view, are not very strong at all. It's a burglar's paradise in Japan. And these motorhome-style windows make Japanese houses extremely cold. Japanese tatami mats. Now, if you've heard of tatami, you know it's a kind of grass. And you also know that in Japan, they've been using it for hundreds and hundreds of years as floor covering. Now, actually, only the top layer is tatami grass. The rest of the mat is made from rice straw, and they're about 5 centimeters thick, the mats, and very heavy. Now, why have they used it for so long? Well, let's do a little test. I've got some water here, and I'm going to pour my water onto the tatami mat. Let's pour it. Exciting. Now, as you can see, it's very waterproof, tatami grass. The water is not sinking in anywhere at all. It was the linoleum of its day. And if we grab a cloth here, a quick couple of wipes, and the water has completely disappeared. Water just wipes off any liquids, any bodily liquids included. Tatami mats. This is a Japanese home shrine. It's a carved wooden box, and you often find these in people's houses, especially elderly people who want to stay in contact with their ancestors and their relatives. They regularly kneel in front of the shrine and light some incense and some candles and say prayers to their ancestors and relatives. There's often food on the shrine as well, which is there as an offering, and it's usually food that the person they're remembering used to like eating. A lot of Japanese department stores sell these shrines, and you can have them delivered and installed into your home. When visitors come to the house, especially family members, they often come straight to the shrine to ring the bell here and say a prayer as a mark of respect for their past ancestors and also for the family who live in the house today.